Hello, my name is Paul Swenson, and this is my presentation for our home buying scenario. So, for this assignment, I decided to project what I think my life is going to be like in several years when I'm ready to buy a house. So, obviously, I made a lot of these things up, and this is probably not the way things are actually going to go and the way things are actually going to be, but it worked and I learned a lot from it. So, this is what the Swenson family is looking like in this situation. There's mom, dad, and then they have 4 kids, age 6, 4, 2, and 3 months. And Paul, let me put this up here so I can read it better. Paul, he works for the Utah Jazz in communications, and Hannah is a college graduate, but she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And the kids and family love to play sports and they love to eat food. So that's a little bit about the family. I guess no matter where I put that, thing, it's in the way of text, but well. The family situation. So the gross monthly income is $8,000, and in that top section, it shows how much they have in savings and assets and in a Roth IRA. Which now that I'm thinking about it, when I made that, that's probably a really small amount to have in the Roth IRA at that point, but it's okay. I learned from it. The unique factor of the family, I mentioned this earlier, is that they only have one source of income and that Hannah wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So that's their unique factor. Mortgage budget is $2,000 a month if you simply just take 1/4 their gross income. And then some major factors and things that they're looking for is that Paul, he works in Salt Lake, so they're looking for a home somewhere close to that, either north of Draper or south of Ogden. And size is important to them because they already have 4 kids and they're thinking about potentially growing the family even more in the next several years. So at least 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, what they're looking for, with a good sized yard that's fenced in the back. And again, this is very early on in this process, so I don't really know what a good down payment was, but obviously they need a fairly large down payment. It's at least 20% of that home price. So this is the dream home that I found. It's located in Riverton, and exactly what they're looking for. It has 4 bedrooms and actually 3 bathrooms with a fenced-in backyard. It's got 2-car garage for both of the cars the family has. The list price, as you can see on here, is $414,900, and when I calculated that, the monthly mortgage payment would be just under $2,000. And then for the modest home, it's also 4 bedrooms, just 2 bathrooms in West Jordan. It's a little bit smaller in square feet. It also has the fenced backyard. It also has the 2-car garage, but it's, what is that, like $80,000 cheaper, $85,000 cheaper, so the monthly mortgage payment's a lot lower. So that's the modest home. Here's the family's budget is looking like. As I mentioned, $8,000 is their gross salary per month, gross wages, and yeah, that's kind of what you can just look and see what each of the categories say. Some important things are transportation is $450. They are paying off 1 car that they have a loan for right now. Long-term savings, they're saving about 10% of their monthly income for retirement. Mortgage or rent budget is about $1,800. I know $2,000 is the number that's 25%, but with the way other things worked out, it seemed like $1,800 would be the better number. Yeah, I think that's probably the most important stuff on here. So here's the savings plan for how they're going to save up for a down payment and for their emergency fund. So as you can see on here, their monthly expenses are $8,000, which is their whole income. That's if you include the amount they're saving each month. So I kept that in there. And a 6-month fund would be $48,000. So in order to save that $48,000, it would take them 64 months, that it is, at 0% interest of saving $70 a month. Whereas you can see if they invest it in bonds, it'll take 5 months less than 59 months. And then for the down payment, if they want to do a $60,000 down payment, which is I think about 15%, it'll take anywhere from 83 to 92 months. So, and that was for the dream home too. So with the way things worked out, I think the modest home is going to be the better option, but that was for the dream home. Here's a look at some interest rates. These are both for the modest home, which is the $330,000 one. The top one's 30 year and the bottom one is 15 year. So we're looking at 15 year is going to be 3.75 and 30 year is 4.12. And just a huge difference in the monthly payment. The monthly payment's way lower if we do the 30 year, but substantially higher if it's 15 year. As far as taxes, the amount that I found would be deducted from their yearly taxes is about $1,200 per year, so nearly $100 or just over $100 a month. That's how much they would pay in property tax. And then here's the differences of what the family's tax liability would be with a home purchase versus without the home purchase. These are the family's cars. The bottom one is already paid off. They already own it. The top one they recently bought, and that's what I mentioned earlier, is the monthly car payment. So they're still paying that off, and we'll pay that off within the next few years. Debts, I mentioned the car payment, and they also, of course, have tithing, which is going to be $800 a month. As far as credit cards and student loans, they don't have any debt there, and they pay their credit card off each month. So that's what's going on there. When I put the modest home into this mortgage calculator, this is the amount that it gave me for the PITI, which was $1,788 a month, which worked out great because if you remember back to the budget, their monthly budget was $1,800 a month. However, this is for the 30-year mortgage, so they wouldn't be able to afford the 15-year mortgage on the modest home. And then looking at the PMI, this is only paying a 15% down payment, so they would have to pay PMI, and it would take them 39 months, and they would pay almost $3,500 towards that. Looking at the ratios, this is the amount that the family would qualify for based on the debts that they already have. So as I mentioned, their gross monthly income is $8,000. You multiply that by 0.36, and $2,880 is the total amount that they can spend on debt each month. They already have tithing, they already have car payments, so you take that out, and this is the max monthly payment they can afford, which is $1,830, which is about what I had in the budget for mortgage, so that works out good for them. Talking about buying versus renting, I think this was a really interesting topic because I've always kind of thought of renting as a waste. The sooner you can buy a home, you should do it, but it totally makes sense when you should buy it, when you should rent. That's one of the things we've learned here. I think it's definitely a good time for this family to buy because they do plan to remain in the area for several years, at least for the next decade, perhaps even longer. And they do have a good credit score right now. The only thing, though, is just the down payment, which I think they could spend a little bit more time on to save up for that. But as far as the other things, credit score is good. They plan to stay here for a long time, and buying a home seems to be a right option for them. Here's a look at the total interest that's going to be paid. As mentioned earlier, the 30-year mortgage for the modest home is the only one they can afford, but they're going to end up paying almost $145,000 more in interest over the life of the loan, which maybe that's incentive to wait a little bit, continue renting, and save up for a bigger down payment so that you can afford the 15-year mortgage instead. Thinking of the home as an investment, this is what the home's going to be valued at in 30 years at the end of the mortgage. On the left here is $1.6 million compared to the $330,000 purchase price. And then remember I had in the budget $800 available for investing and saving for retirement. Obviously, it's not all going to be invested in the stock market, which I have here. The interest rate's going to be 10.4, but at that rate, they'd have almost $2 million saved up for retirement. So as probably you've guessed, and as I've said a little bit before, the modest home is definitely going to be the better option for the family for multiple reasons. First of all, it was almost the same. It was just a little bit smaller than the dream home was, but it had the same amount of rooms, and it had 2 bathrooms, which is what they're looking for. It had the fenced-in backyard, it had the garage, everything they needed. It's just the dream home was maybe a little bit nicer neighborhood or a little bit newer, but the modest home was completely fine, and I think that they would love it. So modest home is a better option. Unfortunately, at this point, they would need to do the 30-year mortgage, but if they wanted to save up a little bit, a couple of years maybe, they could do the 15-year. They both have a good credit score right now, so that's not really a big worry. See if there's anything else I didn't mention. Yeah, I think that's where they're at right now. So that's my presentation. Modest home is the better option, and I'm excited for when this is actually me and I get to buy a house. So thanks.